we warmly welcome you, dear brothers, to our Kingdom Ministry School. Since our last school, Satan's wicked system has continued to deteriorate.
Hey everybody, my name is Jake. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness, current leaked video analyzer, and every week on Sunday service, we chat about my old cult, Jehovah's Witnesses, and see what they're up to. And today we've got a pretty interesting stream. Somebody sent me the videos that elders, JW elders, are going to be watching in this little training program they do called the Kingdom Ministry School, and the videos are generally cultier than the normal stuff that we watch on this channel, because this is not stuff that most people within the witnesses are allowed to see. You have to at least be an elder to see this, and maybe a few of them are able to be seen by ministerial servants. We'll get into what those terms and definitions are later. We also have a quick bit of news up top about Norway and Jehovah's Witnesses trying to brag about a victory, quote unquote, but kind of not. So thank you so much for being here today. If you've never watched before, this is a live stream. It's gonna be full of tangents and merriment, I'll say it. I wish I hadn't, but I did. So please, if you haven't liked and do the things you're supposed to do, and hopefully if you're watching this in the far-flung future, there's timestamps to help you navigate the chaos. Now, I wanted to look at, before we get into the matter at hand, I want to look at the news. And, you know, I don't think I actually really have a good news sound drop, but because we're dealing with the courts in Norway and the government, maybe we can just kind of call this the politics corner.
It's difficult not to take sides in politics. It's very difficult because we are aware of the issues.
And the issue that we're talking about here today is Norway. So on the 27th, Jehovah's Witnesses released this little news update to their website. And if you're not aware, we've been covering this on this channel for the last couple of years. Norway has been trying to hold Jehovah's Witnesses to account in some way about their mandated shunning. The fact that you have to shun people, that there's no way to leave the organization with dignity. The state overwhelmingly sided against Jehovah's Witnesses and stripped them of their funding. Now, this Court of Appeals in Norway has overturned the ruling, and it is expected to go to the Supreme Court. Watchtower has not really been updating their members consistently about this. We're going to talk a little bit, I think, after I read this, about just how news works in a high control group, because it's kind of interesting, if sickening, to see the Watchtower side of this. Now, before we get into that, I do just have to take a quick sip of water. And when I do this, when I take a sip of water, I unfortunately have to play this sound drop.
My church had been giving me ass to drink, but now I was freely receiving, the water of life.
Sorry about that. I don't really know why we have that sound drop or who made it, but we do. Yeah, I thought it would be good to set up both streams early, and apparently it didn't, and it sabotaged everything. I'm going to be doing a stream for members and patrons at 4. We're going to do a town hall, kind of vote on some of the future of the channel, stuff that we're going to do, and I think we'll play some games and hang out. Okay, so this little bit of news, which I find annoying that they call this news, because Google picks this up in their news algorithm. Google News lists jw.org as a news source, which is pretty absurd. But one of the reasons why they release these is because Jehovah's Witnesses are basically trained to not trust anything that is said about Jehovah's Witnesses by the mainstream media, unless it's positive. If the mainstream media covers Jehovah's Witnesses in a positive way, then it's true and you can trust it. But if it even smacks of negativity or makes an allegation that would suggest that the group is not 100% being led by God, maybe reject that. That's fake news, it's from Satan. So really, Jehovah's Witnesses have only received a couple news updates that this is even happening. They are aware that it involves disfellowshipping, but now they're under the impression that this has basically just all been resolved. So in a high control group, you might be wondering how Jehovah's Witnesses can tolerate all this stuff, but it's because they really don't know about it. They only know Watchtower's side of it. And because Watchtower's side of it has been very bad and embarrassing for them, they've barely talked about it. So I'm frankly a little surprised that they posted about this, because it is expected to go to the Supreme Court. But Court of Appeal unanimously overturns unconstitutional ruling in Norway. Let's see. On March 14th, 2025, part of the thing with this stream is that I don't know how to pronounce most words ever. So just, be aware of that going in. The Borgarting Court of Appeal unanimously overturned the Oslo District Court's decision to revoke the legal registration of Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway. The Borgarting Court of Appeal also awarded our brothers 8,500,000 kroner, $806,000, 833 cents. That's not right. In compensation for legal costs. So all of this, by the way, for less than $1 million US. In 2022, the county governor of Oslo and Viken revoked our registration, thereby blocking us from receiving state subsidies that more than 700 registered religious communities in Norway benefit from. The state based its decision on the assertion that we should change our scriptural practice of removing unrepentant wrongdoers from the congregation. That is not what the court did. That's not at all what happened. So they've framed this incorrectly. The state was not trying to get Jehovah's Witnesses to change their scriptural teaching. They were trying to litigate against the group because ex-Jehovah's Witnesses insisted we should not be giving subsidies, free money to this religion because they are abusing human rights. They are a captive religion. Children can get baptized as minors, and as a minor, be locked into this contract with the group where if they ever leave, their family and all their social connections will have to shun them. And so the state, they brought like child psychologists and experts on psychological and emotional violence to make this case. I don't think that Norway was ever trying to get Jehovah's Witnesses to change their religious beliefs. That's obviously up to them. The point was simply that if this is how their religion works, they probably shouldn't be getting taxpayer money. And that's really all this is. But Watchtower is framing this as Satan's world trying to get Jehovah's Witnesses to change the scriptural understanding on disfellowshipping. Now, ironically, Jehovah's Witnesses, as a result of what's going on in Norway, did change disfellowshipping. And you will see that they did not use the word disfellowshipping. The state based its decision on the assertion that we should change our scriptural practice of removing unrepentant wrongdoers from the congregation. No. When this all started, it was called disfellowshipping. And recently, within the last few months, Jehovah's Witnesses have gotten rid of the word disfellowshipping and replaced it with removal, or just removing unrepentant wrongdoers, because disfellowshipping is now seen as this toxic word that got them into trouble. So, boo, I say to that. The latest decision overturns the lower court's unconstitutional rulings. The state may still appeal this decision to the country's Supreme Court. Hey, they at least acknowledge that. During the appeal process, a panel of 3 judges thoroughly examined our religious practices and Bible-based teachings in direct contradiction. Not just in contradiction. This contradiction was direct to the state's claims. The Court of Appeal determined that limiting contact with an unrepentant wrongdoer who has been removed from the congregation is not a violation of his rights.
What is it?
Cool. It's not like that at all, really. In situations where an unrepentant baptized minor is removed from the congregation, the court ruled that it does not constitute psychological violence. The court concluded that Jehovah's Witnesses have been fully vindicated in that the decision to deny grants and registration are invalid. We are pleased by the Court of Appeal's decision in Norway, for which we give all thanks and praise to Jehovah. And then they cite a little scripture at the end. Weaselly bastards. It's really gross. So instead of using the word, they just redefine it. Yes, exactly. So they just redefined disfellowshipping, lied about their beliefs repeatedly in court. If you want to see a reaction to the group's to this ruling in Norway. The last stream that we did last Sunday, we break down the actual court ruling and some of the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway's reaction to it. It's really frustrating, but it does seem like it's going to go to the Supreme Court, because what the Court of Appeals said, essentially, I mean, Watchtower is not wrong. It did directly contradict what the state said, because the Court of Appeals seemingly just believed everything Jehovah's Witnesses said and didn't seem to really understand the nature of psychological violence. I don't know. How do we feel about the fact that they posted this on the website? Is anyone else a little surprised? Like, isn't this the thing of, like, if you have to make a news update that says we are not committing psychological violence, it's almost a little more suspicious. I'm running out of words. Where was Jehovah when the previous court ruled against them? Great question. And this kind of goes into what we were talking about on this channel with the group's spin towards their construction projects. Jehovah's Witnesses are very prolific about using the free labor of their members to build buildings and then sell them for a profit. And whenever there's a problem with the building project, they say, well, this is Satan trying to stop us, or this is just an obstacle in Satan's world. And as long as it ever works out eventually in any way, that resolution is from Jehovah. And their explanation to members about why anything bad ever happens within the religion at all is because sometimes we just need to wait on Jehovah to correct it. So if something seems like Jehovah's not blessing it, maybe it is, and you just haven't waited a long time. So it doesn't really make sense. I think Larchwood posted another Rolf Ferrulli article about it. Yes, exactly. Oh, good to hear from Lava Blue. This was exactly the kind of stuff that woke me up. Yeah, I brought it up because I had the same experience where I felt like as I was kind of becoming a little disconnected or concerned with some things within the group, I also started noticing all these conspicuous statements where they're like, we're not a cult. We promise. We don't even listen to crazy people who say we're a cult. And if apostates are saying negative stuff, don't even go near it. It'll just trick you immediately. So great. Well said by Ron Pomo. They count the hits, but never the misses. That's a great way to put it. And that's also just generally how cults operate. You just don't cover the bad news, only cover the good news. To the extent that there is ever bad news, you just cover it as the bad guys are out to get us. Whatever cult-like cosmic evil force your cult is fighting against, it's their fault. It's their fault. Anything bad is happening. So that's that. I do want to get into, before we get too far afield here, the reason for the season. The bad news of God's kingdom? I know. That's the other thing that's a little uncomfortable about it, I think, for Jehovah's Witnesses, is that it is a victory to protect a aspect of the group that I think if you asked 90% of Jehovah's Witnesses, they would tell you, yes, I would prefer we got rid of this. Like, in their heart of hearts, everybody knows that it's culty and weird and it makes them look bad. And it's emotionally distressing for Jehovah's Witnesses too. Like, obviously, it feels bad when you're told, I know that you want to talk to your kid or your parent or your best friend, but you simply cannot. You are not allowed to, because Jehovah doesn't want you to. And if you do talk to your friend or family member, you're getting in the way of his discipline. Like, that's distressing for witnesses too. They would want to change it. So it's a little iffy that they posted this, in my opinion, because it is like, guys, look, don't worry. We defended our right to fuck you over and shun you at a moment's notice. Don't you feel great? So anyway, well, that might be true. All right, so wait a minute. I should probably set this up. This is the Kingdom Ministry School of Jehovah's Witnesses. So I don't think it's every year, or maybe an ex-elder in chat can correct me on this. I don't know that it's every year. I only went once or twice as a Jehovah's Witness, and I was a ministerial servant, which in the church structure of the witnesses is a little bit below an elder. It's the step below an elder. It's sort of like deacons, and the elders are like priests. And so the elders take the lead in the congregation, and they get all of their directions, all the rules about how the congregation is supposed to be run comes from the branch, because this is a cult. So everything comes down from the top, from their committees that make all their, they call it indoctrination tools, and film these videos. It's every few years. Okay. So every few years, they kind of have to do what some of us have to do for our actual jobs and do like continuing education. And that's kind of what KM school is. It's a little weird because, you know, this is not an accredited school. I'll just say these credits do not transfer to other places of learning. And it's also a little odd because they're not really training elders on stuff like how to be a good listener, or how to be a mandatory reporter. They're not doing... it's all really in the weeds Jehovah's Witness stuff, but usually you kind of get to hear a little bit more about what the governing body really thinks about stuff and what they view as the problems in the organization, because this is where they're going to try and talk to the elders, their middle managers who are enacting the rules of the group, and they're giving them training. And this is going to start out with saying, well, here are the problems that we're facing in the congregation. And so some of these videos, I think, are going to be talks. I haven't watched any of this except for the first, 1 minute of Gage Fleegle talking that I used for the intro here. But when I went, there was some demonstrations, like cringy demonstrations that you might watch in driver's ed or sex ed class in high school, but with Jehovah's Witness scenarios, maybe some interviews, maybe a governing body member talk. So interesting. We'll see it. I don't really know what to expect here. I wonder if he'll say greetings. I like it when Gage Fleegle says greetings. And this is Gage Fleegle, by the way. He's our new favorite guy because he's weird and his name is Gage.
We warmly welcome you, dear brothers, to our Kingdom Ministry School. Since our last school, Satan's wicked system has continued to deteriorate. Wars, protests, and social issues are on the rise. And our brothers and sisters may feel under constant pressure to take sides in these matters.
Satan, just a quick reminder, and did invent social justice. He invented social justice issues, and it is a satanic trap to fall into them. Gage Fleegle is kind of a Rick and Morty name. Oh my god. Wait, maybe on the members stream, by the way, I'll show that picture. Jenny has an amazing picture where Gage Fleegle looks exactly like Jackie Kennedy, and it's kind of insane. Deterioration, yeah, that's another key word, is like the world is deteriorating. I mean, they've been saying the world's going to end since the 1870s or whatever. So the deterioration has been ongoing for quite some time.
Many have experienced the effects of natural disasters, the death of a loved one, or failing health. As a result, some of our brothers feel, as did the psalmist when he said at Psalm 94, verse 19, "Anxieties overwhelmed me." The governing body is grateful to each one of you for your tireless efforts in caring for Jehovah's precious sheep.
Mommy, when I get out, call me Sammy.
Shit, I did it. I was saying that all the mommies and daddies on the governing body are very proud. They're very proud of our little elder friends. And I played that mommy clip because I was like, wait a minute. There's not really any mommies on the governing body, but wait a minute. Yes, there is. There is a mommy among our daddies. And it's
Mommy, when I get out, call me Sammy.
Sorry, that's what I was saying when I was muted. I muted because I was drinking a water. That's why we had the sound drop. Rookie mistake, but we got it out of the way early.
More than ever before, our brothers need loving shepherds. As stated in
more
Isaiah
than before?
32, verse 2.
More than like during the Holocaust even? More than during, I don't know, 9/11 more than ever before, during like the Black Plague and the Spanish flu.
2, we need to be like a hiding place from the wind, a place of
All right. I generally skip past the scriptures because they speak so slow and they read doubly slow.
we're accountable to Jehovah God for the way we serve as shepherds. With this in mind, the theme scripture selected for this school is Psalm 78, verse 72.
So, yeah, you have to be a good shepherd because Jehovah's watching you all the time. In addition to the cult, or really any cult, sort of turning all of the members into snitches, into professional prison rats who just tell on each other because you're supposed to constantly be watching and making sure nobody else is sinning. And if you notice that they're sinning, you have to go to them. And if they don't listen, you have to go to the elders. And in addition to that, you are also instilled with this idea that God is watching you all the time, knowing all the ways that you're messing up. So they have this reinforcement mechanism in that it is a top-down thing, but they also weaponize the like divine, invisible, judgmental eye of God watching you all the time and making sure that you're supposed to be doing what you're doing. And that's why elders generally do stick to the rule book, because they're true believers and they're really afraid that Jehovah will be mad at them.
There we read, He shepherded them with integrity of heart, and with skill
Yeah,
He led them.
we love being sheep, don't we, folks?
Although referring to David, these words prophetically describe Jesus, the fine shepherd.
The fine
Like
shepherd.
Jesus, we want
Why?
to demonstrate
Why is the Bible always doing this? Where they're like, I mean, David, he is a pretty good shepherd, but Jesus is sort of like if David was even greater. Like, why is Jesus so concerned with being the greater version of all these people? It is a little bit like Trump being like, some people say I'm actually even better than Lincoln, maybe even better than Abraham Lincoln, maybe the greatest president. Like, okay, were people really saying this?
deep love for the brothers and sisters. Such love motivates us to look for ways to shepherd them more effectively. This school will help.
But it just looks like an interrogation. It just looks like, or an intervention or something. It looks like that person's in trouble and two mob guys are kind of holding his feet to the
Elders and
fire.
ministerial servants improve in your ability to care for Jehovah's sheep in a skillful way. For example, a loving shepherd takes the lead in the field ministry.
What I don't understand, and yes, by the way, I do pause the videos a lot. That is generally the point of videos. I should have said this earlier, but if you want to watch the videos without any commentary, I believe they're on avoidjw.org. And if not, then sorry, but that is what YouTube is, and so that's what this channel is I talk over it and give my perspective. And now that I've given that disclaimer, I actually forgot why I paused it.
We'll highlight how we can improve in our ability to help those who are presently away from the congregation to return to Jehovah. and to
Oh,
their
good. This will be
loving spiritual
triggering.
family.
Good.
In view of the growth in Jehovah's organization, we will
Wait,
also
wait, wait,
give
wait.
attention to
That's
the
what I wanted.
urgent need to identify and skillfully train brothers with potential.
Thank you to QC Man 2000 for
Short
gifting
preview
a
of what's to
membership.
come? Please enjoy the following video.
Whoa! That's what Gage Fleegle famously said at the beginning of my Awkward Silence supercut that led into the greatest theme song of all time.
Is this what
Real
it was
ones know
like
what I'm
for you?
talking
For me, coming back to Jehovah, it really felt like I was starting over.
Whoa, just two homies fishing. Just two fellas fishing, talking about Jehovah.
Away from what was most important. And I felt powerless to stop it.
Whoa.
I had a situation with the elders that left me deflated, discouraged. At that point, I wasn't doing hardly anything truth-wise.
Let's move to our next point, and that's training.
I'd like to discuss Davy. When I was his age, the brothers gave me things.
Davy?
I really felt like a part of the congregation.
We like to call him Little Davy.
It's your kindness, diligence,
Sorry, I'm not
humility
good at Trump. I'll stop it.
that we love about you, but Jehovah's seen the entire time.
We had an elder in our congregation who
All right, so this is just like a teaser for what we're going to see. And so, I mean, this is almost spoiling everything. Gage doesn't know that we're actually going to be skipping through large portions of this. I mean, I've been watching The Sopranos a lot, but more than once, an invitation to a fishing boat is not a good thing. And so I would be, if I'm in a captive cult that is known for kicking people to the curb, I'm a little hesitant to go on one of these fishing trips. No, not really.
As you can see, there is much to look forward to.
Ah,
We
much.
also have a special
The way
treat
real
at
people
the
talk.
end of the program. Your dear wives are invited to attend the final portion of the school.
Whoa!
Trust they'll be
That's actually different. That's actually new. So, Jehovah's Witnesses are patriarchal. Only men are allowed to have rank in the congregation. They don't call it rank, but that's what it is. And so, obviously, wives, women, are not allowed to be elders, and they're certainly not allowed to attend the elder school. So they must have something that's pre-approved for the ladies to be able to handle. So probably nothing about disfellowshipping or confidential congregation matters that penis havlers have to handle. Penis havlers. I said it the way I wanted to. Davey will be PMO by age 19 with a secret girlfriend. Oh, I don't know. Davey, you never know. Dear God, thank you for this food. A little 30 Rock.
greatly encouraged by the information. How can you get the most benefit from the Kingdom Ministry School?
You know what we're going to say, by the way? We're going to get the most benefit out of it by not listening to all the little time-wasty bullshit that they do. I know a little something about time-wasty bullshit. So let's move on to the next thingy. These were not sent like in order, so there may be a little hopping around, but I was able to determine that the Gage Fleegle one was the first, and there is a Sammy talk that is last. We have not heard the last of our dear friend, Mommy When I Get Out, Call Me Sammy. So let's get to something. This is some kind of demonstration, I guess, or... Wait, what?
Thanks again for calling, Joe. I'm sorry I wasn't on top of that.
On top of...
Okay.
What?
All right, sounds good.
This is a great question. I wonder if we have any PMO elders who can speak on this. That would be great to know. Reasonable to conclude. This is a good inside baseball username. Says, was an announcement made to hide their elders book before the wives enter the Kingdom Hall? And this is a great question because women are famously not even allowed near the elders book. Like in Bethel, in their printing department, where they're making physical editions of all their books, the women aren't allowed to handle the elders book because they might be tempted to sneak a peek. So I'll bet you're right. I'll bet they did have to hide their shepherd book. Lock it in your briefcase and do not let your wife know the combination. Great video so far. Great video.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
I was just reading the Bible. I hope everything's okay.
I've been thinking more about those in our field service group, about what we can do to encourage them more.
Those in our group.
It just seems that our group's zeal isn't what it could be, And I've been feeling this for a while.
Okay, so to explain some things for Never JWs, when he's talking about their group, every Saturday, Jehovah's Witnesses go out and knock door to door. The way they do that is they kind of organize into little groups called a field service group. And so certain elders are assigned to be in charge of that group. And usually the field service group meets in a person's home or at the Kingdom Hall. So they might, before everybody goes out door knocking, maybe they're meeting at this couple's house and reading a scripture and saying a prayer and making a little plan about what territories, what streets they're going to work before going out. So that's what he's talking about. And apparently their service group are lazy bums who don't want to go out and preach the good news of God's kingdom.
So what changed?
Love her glasses, by the way.
I feel like since work picked up, maybe I got a little distracted. And
Oh,
I
there's
haven't been able to work with all the friends the way I used to.
Okay. So what's the plan?
the friends.
Remember, I had to make some adjustments. I bought out time on the weekend just for my own personal ministry.
Interesting. Okay, so you are not allowed to generally go out in service by yourself as a witness, but if you are an appointed man, it is considered acceptable to do. So most of the time, there are 2 Jehovah's Witnesses at a door, but sometimes you're allowed to be by yourself. And I'm interested in the fact that they're portraying this in a video, because I always thought this was maybe more informal.
And then I made it a priority over the next few
Well,
months.
that second
to
thing is
start
objectively
working
not
with
true.
Everyone in my field service group. Some were a little shy and reluctant at first, but eventually they came around. But my wife's support, it was invaluable.
This music, it's like Avicii club beats. It's like bum, 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 but piano. So I guess Sky Full of Stars by Coldplay.
We even auxiliary pioneered one month.
You even did that?
And when
Wow.
we did, we realized that we had a lot of support.
I want to get across to people, I don't know if we've ever looked at these on the channel before, but like, if you want to reach out for a higher privilege of service, if you want to be considered a little bit more prestigious in the congregation, when you see the governing body talking about stuff like doing more for Jehovah, one of the things they're talking about is stuff like pioneering, which is where you kind of pledge to get a certain amount of hours in a month, a large amount, more than you would normally get. And so for auxiliary pioneering, it's either 30 or 50 hours now, I believe. Being a regular pioneer, I think you have to get like 190 hours a year, or it's more than that probably, but it's definitely more than that, because you have to get like 70 hours a month or something. And so you have to like fill out this application, and it's signed by an elder and a witness. It's like paperwork. You have to do paperwork when you're a witness.
And when we did, we realized that we had a lot of support.
Wow. Great. So I guess the lesson there was, if you feel like you're not doing enough in the ministry, do more in the ministry. Great. That needed to be said. And, I'm sorry for wasting your time with it. Let's see what this next one is.
That brings us to Marcus and Paige Blanchard.
Now we're talking. This is what I want to see. This is a reenactment of an elders meeting, and I suspect that this is a meeting with the circuit overseer. The circuit overseer is your regional manager who oversees several different congregations, kingdom halls of Jehovah's Witnesses in a given area. So, and usually the CEO slides a little chair out front, sits facing everybody. Elders meeting with no CEO, sit around a round table like Arthurian knights. But Big Boy is in charge right now, and so they're all sitting their white asses down and listening.
Been an actor for 2 years now. But Cooper, you have an update, I think you mentioned.
I do. So you know how I've been reaching out to Marcus for months now with no response?
You just see all the zeal
Well, this
right
week
here.
they finally returned my call. Yeah, and they've agreed to a visit.
All right, that's great.
That's great.
That is great news. Have you thought about who you'd like to take?
You know, Marcus and Paige are hurting right now. And I really think it would help for them to talk with someone who's been there.
All right, so we have no idea what this scenario is as far as I know, but you're making arrangements for shepherding calls, which is when 2 elders come to a witness's house and try and make them feel better or give them some kind of correction, like you need to be going out in service more, or you should comment more at meetings. But usually they're supposed to be like pastoral, uplifting visits. A lot of time they're not. A lot of times they're just kind of uncomfortable, but that's what they're doing. And I'm guessing that there's some servants that are also here, like ministerial servants, It's weird, the secrecy. Like, the ministerial servants are allowed to be at like the first half of the circuit overseer meeting, but then at a certain point they start getting into some information that's a little too top secret for servants, so they ask all the ministerial servants to leave, and then the elders talk about whatever kind of top secret congregation business. And so I think maybe there's some elders here. Otherwise, that there's like a 12-year-old elder.
I'd like to take Scott.
What do you say, Scott?
I guess if the body agrees, I'd be happy to help.
Well, of course,
Scott
we'll be
seems
praying for Jehovah's blessing
pretty dorky
for you both as you make that call. Let's move to the next point then.
Elderface, much Elderface.
That's great. Marcus said it was all right to visit.
Here's what I'm thinking. So we could share Isaiah chapter 40.
Okay, so this is an important step 2 of the shepherding arrangement, and this is real. You get together with the 2 elders who are going to be just basically hanging out with a friend and listening to their problems and being nice. That's really all that's going to be happening. But they treat this like it's an intervention where they've got to like prepare ahead of time. And so they will get out the person's permanent record, the like publisher. That's what they call members. They call them publishers. So they'll get out your publisher record card and they'll be like, okay, we're going to go do a shepherding visit for Janet and Malarkey later today. And Sister Malarkey only averages about 4 hours a month in the ministry. And in fact, in January, she didn't go out at all. And but you know what she does have is one regular home Bible study. So we can commend her on the Bible study, maybe encourage her to get out in service a little bit more. And I was thinking you could read this scripture. And I'm thinking that I could give her a printout of this Watchtower article to leave her with. It's very, I don't really know how to describe it other than culty.
Verse 11. And maybe share some points from this June 2020 study article. What do you think?
You know, I'd really like to share these references and these verses.
Did I call my shot or what?
But most of all, I'd really like to just listen to them and see how they're doing.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, we need to understand where they're at and how they got there.
Hey, do you mind if I ask? I mean, I know it's been years, but how did you
still
get there?
Suck dudes' cocks? Oh.
Well, it definitely didn't happen overnight. Tina and I were pioneering together.
Get where? Do we just not know? They're like hinting at some tragic backstory for this guy that, I mean, I'll be honest with you, kind of reminds me of... No. He looks like a guy in my old congregation, my Spanish congregation, actually.
But then our life just got complicated.
But now I'm thinking, I think he might just look like every Jehovah's Witness. I think he might just, you know, when I was a witness, I had quite literally those exact same glasses and very similar sweaters. So I think he's just dressed like a witness and doesn't look like anybody.
Good. I need a minute. Yeah.
Taking care of aging relatives, I guess. You're doing great. Smash cut 2, he's not.
I drifted away from...
What was that area supposed to be that he was in? Like the company break room or something? Well, the good news is they live in a fully furnished IKEA apartment. Like they live in essentially a showroom for Pier 1. So things can't be that bad.
What was most important?
Lo is dropping some really funny jokes in chat, by the way.
I guess you won't be able.
I can't make it tonight.
Okay.
It wasn't that I left Jehovah.
Oh.
I just was not much of a spiritual head.
Wow. All right. This is loaded with a lot of terms. Okay, so the spiritual head. This man's existential crisis that set him on a dark path was in real life. His dad was aging and they had to take care of him and pay bills because this is a real situation that happens with all aging parents, and it's an especially big problem right now, the sandwich generation thing. And so he's experiencing that, and then his dad dies, and so he's grieving, which is normal. But no, it's not when you're a witness, because you've got the resurrection. And so what you really should be doing to feel better is what? Doing more Jehovah's Witness stuff that will keep the resurrection constantly in mind. Because really, your loved one isn't gone. They're just temporarily sleeping for a little bit, and Armageddon's going to come every day, and then you'll get to see them again in paradise. So that just real situation that guy's dealing with resulted in him going to meetings less often, and this is the problem. Not that he became an apostate, a filthy apostate like me. It's just that he went to meetings less frequently than he used to, but that's still a crisis. And that's why I've been trying to kind of think back on my experience to be like, what should I have done differently? I think where I've landed is like nothing, because like I definitely wish I would have done some things differently to just be kinder to some people in my life, or be more honest about where I was at spiritually or not spiritually before I left, and not blindsiding people with my apostasy. But at the end of the day, no matter if you fade or post that you're disassociating on Facebook or go to the media or something, like it all results in the same thing, which is that you're considered spiritually weak and you're not a good spiritual head. We'll get to that in a second. And you might as well be an apostate because you are forsaking the gathering of us together, all this weird in-group talk. The spiritual head thing, he's saying, like another weird responsibility is that you have to be in the like patriarchal nuclear family that God ordained in the Garden of Eden. They say you have to take the lead spiritually in your family, and that means you have to like conduct family worship, just like Jacob and Esau did back in Bible times. We recently learned. So he thinks he went pretty inactive. QC Man says, I think he went pretty close to inactive, Jake, not just a regular. Not that that's a bad thing either. Okay, no, but that's a good point. Maybe it's not that he just stopped going as often, but he's inactive, and being inactive is really just as bad as being disfellowshipped in some ways. Although they are more likely to try and make efforts to get you to come back to the group, whereas they're explicitly told not to do that with people who speak out against the organization. So anyway, this guy's problem is that his wife's a witness, and he is supposed to be taking the lead in their witnessy worship together, but he's inactive, so he's not doing that. And so all of the guy's problems in his life are because he's a Jehovah's Witness. Death is going to happen to everybody. We're all going to lose people in death at some point. But the only unique thing about his situation is that he's a Jehovah's Witness, and so there is a religious structure constantly filling him with shame and guilt for not being at the meetings. Fear, obligation, and guilt.
Our theme scripture for this lesson is taken from Colossians.
That's right. Good call, Ron.
Love, for it is
I'm going to try and find it first.
Even though I wasn't doing anything wrong, before I knew it, years had gone by.
Whoa. Wait, but how did years go by? Wasn't the M supposed to come many years ago? Here's what I thought was supposed to happen, is that the second you leave, Armageddon comes, so you should never leave.
Right. That was a meeting.
Good. Yeah, Angela invited some sisters over, so I'm gonna go change.
Okay, sounds good. I drifted away from what was most important, and I felt powerless to stop it.
So what changed?
I remember there was a circuit overseer's visit, and I told Tina I would try to make it.
Oh, hey, thank you for fixing that. So I hear his last talk is actually the best talk of the week.
He really did. I had the same thoughts. Like, does he
Got
work
you
at Best Buy?
something. I will leave it right here for you.
It's
So,
a butt
love
plug.
you.
I know we've been talking about that.
Love you too.
You know who he kind of looks like is Ezra Klein. Great question. Oh my god, it's high. So this is a real... This is a little bit of a manipulative gift. Isn't this sort of like if I were to get my wife, like, a set of pots and pans for her birthday? Like, you know what you should do is cook me some stuff. And it's sort of like she's saying, here's your gift. It's a reminder that you should go back to meetings so that you don't die and I'm not forever alone in paradise without my husband. Ayo. Yeah, the support, they would say probably, oh wait, no, we do offer support, but the support that they offer is just telling you how important it is that you get back to the meetings and ministry, and the amount of self-sacrifice they're willing to do is like driving you to the meetings and ministry or make plans to do those things, but they're not going to just be there and listen judgment-free and other things. Like, Jehovah's Witnesses do take care of each other, as long as you are an active member and you are visible in the congregation. But when you start to disappear, people will stop treating you like a friend, and they're okay just letting you fall away because they're worried that you're infected with whatever spiritual weakness, and it'll kind of rub off on you.
Some may feel
Yeah.
like a lost cause.
Yeah.
They may think, I've been away too long. But is that actually the case? When a person drifts away, Jehovah does not abandon him as being beyond hope. Notice the reassurance Jehovah gives.
Notice!
Next, in Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 16. The lost one I will search for, the stray I will bring back, the injured.
The face of happiness, the happy religion, the happy God. Who wouldn't want to be at the Kingdom Hall? Except for apparently most people, and it's a huge hassle to get anybody to go. And the second anybody misses one meeting, they're inevitably on a path towards missing every meeting. Like, people don't want to be at the Kingdom Hall. That's why you constantly have to tell people that they need to be there, or else. Well, this is the tricky thing, is they very rarely show the messiness of this. The one time they came close was that True Love video, which is kind of accidentally revealing about how culty it is. She's kind of out of his league anyway. I mean, the dude got lucky, but we all have our flaws, and her flaw is that she's a Jehovah's Witness who's going to buy her husband passive-aggressive neckties until he goes back to meetings.
Bandage, and the weak I will strengthen. Picture a flock of sheep grazing in a field. Somehow, while nibbling on grass, one of the sheep gets separated from the flock.
Those words in Ezekiel really touched my heart.
Those are some soft.
Can we just, I mean, I know that this is going to make me sound a little creepy to say this, but I think just given the track record of Jehovah's Witnesses, this has to be true, that they are keeping track of the attractiveness of an elder's wife in casting. Like, I think they just are trying to cast traditionally beautiful women in their videos, right? Because the men really can just be whatever schlubby JW number 3, and their wife, you know, all the women in the video has to be someone like Jade or Nita, or, you know, the like pretty women that they put in their Bible dramas, or this guy's wife. I too would like to have sex with this guy's dead wife. It's a good reference if you know what it is.
It's so beautiful how Jehovah never forgets those that he's drawn in.
Isn't
What do you
that
think
beautiful how he
about
never forgets, but he totally
sharing
will.
these verses with Marcus and Paige, and maybe using it as a way to kind of see how they're really doing?
I love it.
Yeah, this is something, maybe I'll set this aside for when we take a little break from these videos, but this is something that I'm trying to do in my very, very slow moving, really not progressing at all video on like sexual shame that I'm making in the organization, like using the organization as a springboard to talk about things like Scientology and NoFap, and just how all of these various cults throughout history weaponize basic things like masturbation or, emphasize sexual shame. Well, I think one of the reasons why Jehovah's Witnesses is appealing to men and why it could be appealing to men still in the 2020s is because it does reinforce that patriarchal structure. And a lot of men are drawn to guys like Jordan Peterson and then maybe later someone more extreme like Andrew Tate because they reinforce this idea that we need a society where there's kind of forced monogamy and women should be expected to marry men to have any kind of fulfillment in life. And that is how Jehovah's Witnesses works. And there are more women than men. So that is something that cults are going to weaponize, is that kind of that nuclear family ideal where the man is in charge. A lot of men think that they want that. I think as somebody who was a witness, I think you actually don't want that. But that's kind of a conversation for another day. But I think you're absolutely right.
Let's do it.
All right, so what do you think? Should we just start?
Shit, it's over. Okay, so that's the end of that. But now let's acknowledge really quick here before we get into our next little delight here, our next delightful video, that we've got our boy. We've got our boy, Bo. What's up, Bo? Hi, buddy. Do you want to say hi to the viewers at home? Not really? Okay. Well, that's okay. Bo is a little pissed, but we still love our animals.
Our spiritual paradise is a place that has many harmless animals.
Now, what do we mean by this?
We love Bo so much, except when he destroys certain parts of the set midstream. Or Christina said, or when he licks the food I'm trying to make. You know, I made eggs this morning and he was pretty good. Didn't bother me much, but tell you what, when Christina's in the kitchen, he wants to be all up in it. All right, I think we're on to video number 4 at this point. Ooh, this looks like a folksy video. This looks like the kind of rural territory I did a lot in Marysville, Ohio.
Stray, I will bring back. The injured, I will bandage. And the weak, I will strengthen.
One thing that you do in a shepherding call, and also a lot of different environments as a witness, is you tell people to read scriptures for you. You're like, I was thinking of this scripture, and would you read that? Would you just go ahead and read that? It's kind of odd. I've just realized since leaving that very, very rarely in life do you just hand somebody like a book or command them to read something to you because you want them to reinforce it to themselves. Like, it's a weird power dynamic that doesn't really exist anywhere else.
Those words are there to remind us that we are precious to Jehovah. He's never going to forget about us, and he's never going to give up on us.
I mean, I get what you're trying to say with these verses, but I don't know. I don't feel like Jehovah wants me back.
Oh, boy.
It's definitely something that I struggled with too, for a period of time. In fact, that's how I felt after my first meeting back.
Everyone was
Okay, so I'm a little frustrated with this because, first of all, I got very lucky. I was at Kroger the other day and eggs were $4. Insane, by the way. That's still way too expensive for eggs. But they had been like $8 to $11 the last time I've been there. So I got eggs there. But it really is absolutely absurd. Every time I go into the store, there's like, they've got a very big prominent sign that's telling you the current price of eggs. And usually they're ridiculous.
so excited to see you.
But yeah, you know what? We struggle like everybody. But every once in a while, we treat ourselves to scrambled eggs.
That talk was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That was so funny when Butch.
Thank
went
you,
to give a
QC
hug.
man.
He almost knocked you over. Hey, is everything okay?
Oh yeah, I'm fine.
Oh, sorry. I forgot to actually comment on what happened with this dude. This guy who's like, first of all, look at this kind of creepy face this guy's making. Oh, man. You really get it in slow motion. Now this guy, really mugging it up. His problem is that he doesn't feel like Jehovah wants him back. And I am annoyed at the organization's videos because this is an opportunity for them. Maybe they'll do it in a future video to address what I think is a much more common problem, which is that you don't believe it anymore. And like the kind of like judicial committee that I had, right, that I recorded, if you listen to that, like I had other meetings with the elders before then that were just shepherding calls, but they're pretty similar, and I don't agree with them, and so I'm kind of pushing back on them with some scriptures and some doubts. It seems like that training against that kind of thing would be much more useful to elders than lobbing them up with the kind of thing that they've been trained to deal with their entire lives. But okay, now I will say though, I have absolutely met people and talked to people. Just recorded an interview with somebody who had this same experience where they were disfellowshipped a couple times actually, and just had that internalized shame of, I still believe this is the truth, but I'm just going to die at Armageddon, and Jehovah doesn't want me back. Like they really, so some people really do think that, which is pretty sad and demented.
It's definitely something that I struggled with too. For a period of time. In fact, that's how I felt after my first meeting back.
Everyone was so excited to see you. That talk was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That was so funny. When Butch went to give you a hug, he almost knocked you over. Hey, is everything okay?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. It's just
I love his suit.
So good to see you.
So good to see you.
So good to see you.
We have to catch up.
Oh wow, they're like showing love bombing. Interesting.
We have got to get together. Everyone acting like there's nothing wrong. I don't think I'm ready for all this.
Is that them acting like nothing's wrong, or is that them acknowledging that they do feel like something's wrong, which is that they haven't seen you in a while, and they're going to try and love bomb you back into the group? I don't know.
I just don't deserve it.
Plot hole. That's a great point. He definitely did.
I'm really
Maybe
proud of
he
you
took an
for
Uber.
coming today.
Yeah, they don't want to acknowledge the possibility of people just simply not believing. Damn, dude. I've been this is a total tangent, but this like little house right here, this is such a dream house for me, because I think about, because houses are so absurdly expensive and it seems like nobody in my generation will ever be able to afford one. You know, I'll be driving around and be like, you know what kind of house I'd be comfortable with is this tiny little house. We live around a lot of little places like this. I find them so cozy. I just wanted to think about that cozy house for a second. Think about what it might be like to live in a house one day. Damn, voice memos? Chill.
Great seeing you yesterday. Hey, me and Elliot are going to be going out to the diner tonight to get some supper. You want to come with us?
Interesting. Maybe my contemporaries will? I don't think so. I don't think anyone's bought a house in the past 50 years. I don't think that's possible. This is very interesting, though. They are acknowledging that some people are a little overwhelmed by the love bombing of the group, and that it could actually rub some people the wrong way and be off-putting. So that's intriguing.
The lost one I will search for. The stray I will bring back.
Love it. Let's have an overlapping hoodie. Oh, great comment from Judith. I'm going to set aside.
It's a little tricky, kind of getting back on my feet.
Do you mind if I share this with you? There's going to be some challenges.
What's the point of doing this? Like, everybody who is or ever was a Jehovah's Witness knows about this publication, has seen it, and knows that they can access it at any point on jw.org. And they've probably read it. It's like they've probably read it before. They don't have that many options. This is the problem when you're in a cult, is it's just like, they'll give you a bunch of different remixes of the same take over and over, but at a certain point it's like you join us or die, and that's really the place where he's at. He's like disconnecting from it, but hey, you just gotta go anyway, get back into the lifestyle.
This will help you.
Except this lifestyle, you don't get to have
a plan to overcome them.
nearly as much sex. This very confusing job he has, where he sits in a little broom closet with a cooler and does what exactly? Like blueprints. Okay, now I'll tell you right now what I'm most nostalgic for as a Jehovah's Witness is little late night fire pit conversations. They're just culturally a lot of witnesses had fire pits, because you are just always like hanging out with people as a witness, which is kind of nice. And oh man, anybody with a fire pit, that's the height of luxury right there. We had one at our house. My dad built one, and it was just the best. So I do kind of miss that. What's funny though is that we really didn't talk about spiritual stuff a lot. It would always be like we played little boring witness games. They were not boring at the time, but I don't know. Did anybody ever play these kind of weird verbal party games as a witness? That's like, all right, you got to go around and everybody says a thing this turn and nobody can repeat it, or you have to repeat what each previous person said. Like, there's all these weird little games that you would just play that almost feel like kindergarten games. Oh, hell yeah, absolutely. I will say, this is MT who says, come on, Jake, watch JW literature is like Taco Bell, all the same ingredients, just mixed up a bit different and given a new name. So this is a question. What is the cheesy gordita crunch of Watchtower literature? Let's think about that. Let's brainstorm and sound off. And because I don't go to Taco Bell very much, but when I do, I get a cheesy gordita crunch.
For all this Coop.
Oh, it's nice being together.
Yeah.
So how you guys doing?
You know, Coop, it's nights like this that
Did he just say
make
goop?
me realize how much of a void.
I heard well goop.
Make me realize how much of a void.
That was really
Nice being together.
Yeah.
So how you guys doing?
You know, Coop, it's nights like this.
Coop!
that Make me realize how much of a void.
Coop!
there's been in my life.
I need you to listen to my fireside conversation.
And everyone's
This
been
is
so
top
kind
secret,
and
Coop.
patient. But I just don't feel like I belong.
Well, I was thinking about you the other day, and I thought of this scripture.
God damn
Psalm
it. Don't do this to
68:6.
people. I don't do this, like I like to read books, but I'm not like, I was reading the other day in Captain Underpants and the Perilous Plot of Professor Poopy Pants, remembered it. And it's just, this part struck me right here, and I'd like to read it. Actually, I think I'd like you to read this part of Captain Underpants and the Perilous Plot of Professor Poopy Pants to me out loud if you could right now. That's just the first book that came to mind.
Just that first part.
Just read that. Read that for me there, bucko.
God gives those who are alone a home to dwell in.
You know what I love about this scripture? Not only does Jehovah know when we feel like we're alone, but he does something about it. He gives us a spiritual home. It's a place where we have friends that truly love us.
But he doesn't feel that way. He feels like he doesn't belong. And the guy's just like, no, yeah, but you do. You do. And you have to be here. Yeah, maybe you don't get along or fit in with the only friends you're allowed to have. But you see, you have to, because if you don't, then the only choice is that you leave the organization and you die in Armageddon.
Come up on that invitation. Let Jehovah welcome you home.
How do I do that?
Focus on your love for Jehovah.
Yeah. Just focus on that, would you?
Yeah.
Am I crazy, or are they in a different house every time we see them? This looks different from every other previous place.
Take advantage of the help Jehovah provides.
Just take advantage of the help Jehovah provides. Consume our content is what that means, really. Coop is going to kill
stronger. Start taking the lead spiritually.
Coop has malicious
Not gonna
vibes, and I
happen
know he
overnight.
means well.
But it is going to happen.
He slowly backs up over Coop. Coop accepts this, doesn't fight back at all. Okay, well, that was depressing. That was pretty rough. I'm interested in the fact that they broached this real thing, which is that some people do make an effort to come back, but they still don't feel connected to it. But the solution is just, well, but you gotta be connected to it. So, just try really hard, please. And just remember that we truly love you, and nobody on the outside does truly love you. Just a nice little Christian message there. You're not really that lovable outside of the context of Jehovah's Witnesses, so.
Hey, do you remember that trip? All of us.
Oh, wait. There was a comment I wanted to get to before we get into our next videos. This was really great. Judith Lyon says, women have a big stake in getting their husband back in. Like, JW women getting their JW husbands back in the organization. First, your personal status is tied directly to your husband, and if he leaves the org, of course, he's going to cheat on you. That's like definitely the fear. There's a huge social stigma against it. You're going to become that person with an unbelieving husband. Like that's, you know, me and Christina talked about that in the videos that we did, kind of talking about her process waking up in our marriage was, you know, I never wanted that to be my wife's thing, and I didn't want her to think that just because I was, you know, ex-JW that I was gonna turn into this like philandering guy. But that is a real thing. You tie women's entire ability to progress socially to men, basically. I mean, that's why patriarchy's bad for everyone. It's a weird amount of pressure to have as a man, and it's also completely unfair as a woman. It robs you of your autonomy. You know, no one really has autonomy in that kind of structure.
Up at the lake.
Was that the time you tripped?
Oh,
over
this
your
is our
tackle
fishing trip.
box and kicked the entire cooler into the lake? Then yes, I do. I do remember.
Damn,
that.
drone shot maybe?
It's ridiculous.
Good times.
Seems like it. Seems like everyone's great friends.
I wanted to tell you. I know Paige and I haven't been to the hall for a while. We're trying to get back into a routine. But just the idea of field service and talks, I don't know. It's a lot.
It really is.
Is this what it was like for you?
Yeah. For me, coming back to Jehovah, I couldn't just pick up where I left off.
You know what I'm realizing is this guy looks familiar because we've seen him in another video. So I apologize if somebody in chat has already pointed this out. We definitely have seen this guy in another video. It might be like an elder training video that we watched on stream or something, but I'm almost positive we've seen this guy in other JW material. He's a star. The man's a star, and we can all see it. He's got star power. Yeah, so they're really leaning in on this thing that I do think is better than stuff I've seen at previous elder schools, where they're at least acknowledging that, you know, some people just kind of don't connect with this on an emotional level, and maybe you should just do more friendship stuff with them instead of trying to drag them out in service. Like, I think that's good advice. But the problem is this is a high control, high demand religion, and the only reason why they're doing friendship stuff with you is because, in their mind, and it's not necessarily malicious, they think that their job is to save you from being destroyed in Armageddon, so you'd better get back to meetings. So it's never just a meeting with your friends, it's never just a fishing trip, it's always, when are you going to come back to Jehovah? And that's why it's hard to leave, because you do have to figure out, like, well, maybe I can maintain some relationships within the group, but how much of that relationship is just going to be about them trying to get me to come back? Yeah, it's tricky. Not malicious, but evil, says Chandler. It's good. I feel like I'm watching a Nolan movie trying to keep up with the timeline jumps. Yeah, there's a possibility that we're not watching these in totally the right order.
In a lot of ways, it really felt like I was starting over. It's hard to describe, but I felt like the closer I would get to Jehovah, the more I was consumed by regret.
Hey, Scott. Hey, Coop. How you doing, man? How you doing, man? Good.
Not good. Not good at all.
Appreciate- We had you.
Because, I mean, that is really how I would articulate what happened to me, word for word. That's a great way to say it. The more I tried to get closer to Jehovah, the less connected I felt to the group, the more regret I felt. Now, they might be saying I felt regret for, like, my past sins or something, but I don't know. I would read this as the more this guy tries, the less he believes it. The other tricky thing is, like, there can be no resolution to this issue that this guy's having, because the only resolution is, yeah, but you have to believe it. So at no point can our two fishing buddies just be fishing buddies who go fishing and don't talk about religion, which I'm going to assume is the case with 99% of all fishing buddies, is that when you're just fishing with your bros, that's not the time for church talk. But yeah, nope, they're going to find a way to spin this.
Running with those mics. Yeah, no kidding. That's awesome. Hey, man, I got something for you.
Hey, man, got something.
So Robert's heading this up. We'd love for you to assist him with this.
Okay, cool. I can't do this.
Sure you can.
Based.
Maybe you should give this to someone better.
Someone better? What do you mean?
You know, better. Maybe someone who didn't just give up, let his wife serve Jehovah alone for 10 years.
Oh, this is interesting. Sorry I keep saying that word so much. It just happens to be interesting. It just happens to be an objective fact. Ned Flanders. It's like, wow, they're reinforcing what the governing body, I should say. The governing body are reinforcing how they want members to feel if they've ever been inactive. They believe that you should feel shame for being inactive, and therefore they assume that you will feel a bunch of shame for being inactive, and therefore you will be this self-loathing person who's like, no, I don't deserve to draw the territory maps. I didn't go to meetings for 10 years. I can't draw the maps.
Hey, man, let's go talk. You got a couple minutes?
Yeah, just give me a second.
Oh, cool. Now he's in trouble. Now he has to go talk in the back room. That'll help him feel good.
So, Scott, do you really think Tina sees it that way?
No, but I let her down in so many ways. And I mean, yeah, now I'm getting back on my feet again, but when I look back...
Looking back, it could serve a purpose, but think about what Jehovah wants you to focus on now.
Yeah, I mean, in the group, they really don't want you to focus on the past, because the past is where all those false predictions are and false doctrines that they used to teach. So don't go over there unless you really have to, or in case we have found a way to spin it in our favor.
Not on what you did, but on what you're doing.
What you're doing.
That's easy to say. But when I think about all those years Tina and I could have been serving Jehovah together, those years are gone.
Oh, they're gone. They're totally gone. Oh, when I think of the free labor I could have given, when I think of the nails that I could have hammered into a wooden plank, when I think of all of the number 2 talks on the Christian life and ministry meetings I could have given, and all the doors I could have slammed on my faces, and all the Saturday mornings I could have woken up early. Ooh! Yeah, we think about our wasted years too. Like, sorry, fella. I don't think so. I don't think that this is a real thing.
You know, those feelings, totally understandable.
Totally.
But here's how Jehovah feels.
how Jehovah
1 John
feels.
19 and 20. Do you mind
This
reading
is
that?
how your invisible daddy feels about you, buddy.
And we will assure our hearts
Now
before
read
him.
this. Read this shit your spiritual daddy said. Here's a Bible. Read that for me. You're a dancing monkey who will read on command.
Regarding whatever our hearts may condemn us in. Because God is greater than our hearts and knows all things.
God is greater than our hearts. He wants you to move forward. He promises to help you move forward.
Oh, wow.
And the rest of us, we're here to help too. And as for those lost years, you both have forever to serve Jehovah. You'll make it
right.
I gave the...
It isn't really like you've wasted your entire life in the organization, because you'll get all those years back in the eternal paradise. So there's no real need to dwell on the sheer amount of your limited time on Earth has been wasted in this religion that makes you feel terrible and causes seemingly every problem in your life.
Those brothers one reason after another to give up on me. And Marcus, honestly, at times I gave up on myself.
Wow.
But Jehovah never gave up on me. And he hasn't given up on you and Paige either. I know he hasn't.
They talk about this like it's recovering from heroin addiction. And it's recovering from not being a Jehovah's Witness for a while.
Would you and Paige be up for another visit?
That'd be great.
Hey,
You still remember how to do this?
Just do your job. Get the net. Hang on. Hang on. That's a largemouth.
Oh, there's banter. There's fun friendship banter.
Coming back
How
isn't easy. And Jehovah's
much are we
not
going to
asking
dwell
you
on
to do it on your own either. And if you ever start feeling that way, there's a scripture that can help. It's Jeremiah
Here, read it.
31,
Read this.
verse 3.
Here.
Actually, do you mind reading that, Scott?
No, not at all.
I think you should have said, wait, no. No, I'm not going to read that shit.
From far away, Jehovah appeared to me and said, I have loved you with an everlasting love. That is why I have drawn you to me with loyal love.
Yeah, Raktha says they don't get that a Bible verse doesn't band-aid a situation. It's just really weird. It would just be like if your only approach to governance was just like, I was just rereading the Gettysburg Address, and I just think you should reread this part. It's like, you know what? Totally fine to reread the Gettysburg Address. But that's, those words are just always going to be exactly the same. And at some point, you might just need a new idea. I don't know. It's just weird to think, like, this is the one book we read, and you should just reread these parts of it all the time for any emotion. Just deal with your emotions by reading different parts of the same thing over and
These
over.
are very powerful words. But they're
Words
more
are
than just
powerful.
words. They're a promise.
Never doubt that Jehovah is drawing you.
He said that so scary.
We do.
I think that Mormon theology is weirder than Jehovah's Witnesses in some ways, but their video propaganda is way more boring in that it's not as creepy. This, I think, is boring in a creepy way that I find satisfying.
Hey, one more thing. You heard that David got accepted to SKE?
It's for sickos. These videos are for sickos like me.
Yeah. We're going to do a going away party for him this
Sunday. A little going away
No
party.
pressure. But we'd love for you all to join.
Yeah, let's do it.
We'd love that. Great.
And they also live in a perfect home. Wow, this is a way more... No. This is way more elaborate than any going away party I've ever seen for a Jehovah's Witness. You go to a shelter house and you rent it, and you do indeed bring those tarps, the little plastic table covers, but that is it. You bring that stuff and the food. There's no, twinkle light setups and arts and crafts. Not at any of my get-togethers. It is the same energy. There should be Little Caesars pizza. Okay, there should be some homemade dish that's amazing, that's just like the weirdest thing ever, but also it tastes amazing. That's some dish that somebody's mom makes. And there's always also a couple buckets of KFC, Little Caesars pizza, store-bought Giant Eagle cookies and stuff. You got 2 liters. You got one of those plastic bins that you pour some ice in. You got some diet sodas in there and bottled waters. I mean, very special people got going away parties. I never got a going away party. Not that I ever really went anywhere. But like when I went to Spanish, I didn't get a going away party. But they just definitely never put this much effort into decorating it. There was always just like, yes, we will have a party. And the decorations that are already there will be the decorations that are used. Store-bought potato salad. Great. Yes. Ay! True happiness right there. Not put on at all. I don't know, folks. That's a little rough. All right. I can't believe that we're halfway through all of our favorite videos. You should have waited for Gog of
So I was
Magog,
raised in
right?
a witness family. I was
This
baptized
is an
in
interview.
1987.
Oh yeah, I didn't find the notes. Ron Pomo mentioned this on Reddit, that there was somebody who like took notes, posted it on the XJW subreddit, and I cannot find this. What if I search Elder School? Gosh, dang it. Can't find it. Yeah, past month. Oh, here it is. Here it is. I do want to look at this so we get a broader sense of what this is like in the context of the elders. So one thing I didn't really explain is how this works, like how the school itself works literally. And it's just usually 2 days, like Saturday and Sunday. Maybe the servants will go for part of Saturday, but probably not the rest of the program. And it's held at a Kingdom Hall. A bunch of elders from all over the circuit go, and there's some guys who are given a talk outline from the branch, and they will play these videos as a part of their talks, kind of like their conventions. They'll give a little sermon, and then be like, in the following video, notice how, and then they'll play the stuff we've been seeing. And so a physically in, mentally out elder took some notes, and let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. How do I... Sorry, I had it down. I had my keyboard shortcut down. Now I can't find it. I'm sharing with you the notes I took at the Congregation Elder School. Now that I'm a PMO and no longer afraid to access what really goes on within this organization, I can see the manipulation and the intentions behind their carefully crafted phrases. I believe my notes reflect that. What surprised me the most was the issue of alcoholism among elders. In fact, the speaker even said something like, it's strange that this topic is in the outline, but it's clear the cognitive dissonance and the apocalyptic lifestyle take a toll on people. He also gives us general guidelines. Do not discuss the content of this school with other elders. Weird. Why not? If you're all going to the same school. Recording the program is not allowed. Oops. We're not seeing the program itself. We're just seeing these videos. Notes should not be shared with anyone. So this person here, John Doe, is breaking the law. Retransmitting the meeting is strictly prohibited. Jehovah values loyalty. Jehovah appreciates the loyalty shown to the governing body and his organization, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we've got a little breakdown of the videos here. Well, that's kind of interesting because we definitely haven't seen the alcohol stuff yet.
When I
Maybe
was 14 years old.
It'll be this.
So I was raised in a witness family. I was baptized in 1987 when I was 14 years old. And not long after that, when I was about 15 or 16, I started auxiliary pioneering. So things were going pretty well. In my late teens, there was a situation with the family that was very discouraging. And then I had a situation with the elders that...
Wait, I'm like, did my face cover up part of his little credit? Elder, that's what it removed. Now we know that his title is Elder.
I had a situation with the elders that was not handled well and left me deflated, discouraged, and put the brakes really on my progress, my spiritual progress.
In 1995, I met Leah, and we got married.
I really felt like this could be a fresh start and things would go better and I could do better. She ended up having some serious health issues right after we got married. And on top of that, we had some financial issues. At that point, I wasn't doing hardly anything truth-wise, right? I wasn't going to the meetings. The only thing I was doing basically is going to the memorial. And so I really was not equipped to deal with all these things that were being thrown at me. My spirituality just was not the level that it needed to be, and I didn't have that foundation.
You know, what's happening here is that this person left the organization, stopped going, but never deconstructed. He never watched the kind of stuff that you're watching right now, where someone is critically looking at the organization stuff and maybe like, explaining why it's not true or why it's manipulative. So the whole time this guy is inactive, he's just internalizing all this guilt and shame, and on some level feels that Jehovah's Witnesses still have the truth and that he's a giant fuck up for not going to meetings. So you can see how it just creates this self-perpetuating problem.
I got distracted with one of my hobbies, which is golf. And I just started playing way too much. I started working at a golf course.
Which means he can afford to play golf.
And 2 circuit overseers. One of them was ours that arranged to play golf with me. And about halfway through the round, our circuit overseer, who knew my situation, he started to really encourage me. And the things he said really stuck with me, and I felt...
Like what? Like what?
That he showed a lot of confidence in me, and that had a big effect on me. And then, too, we had an elder in our congregation who took a personal interest in me. He didn't treat me like his pet project. He didn't even talk about my situation. He just treated me like a friend, and I felt that sincerity, and I really appreciated it.
Treated you like a friend, but he obviously was... Like, you were his pet project, and it worked, because here you are.
When you're coming back from being inactive, there's always going to be roadblocks. And for me, one of the roadblocks was I had this attitude of all or nothing. And what helped me to overcome that was we had there was a talk, and the brother used an illustration about building your spirituality with climbing Mount Everest. It takes steps, and it takes time to get to the top. And so I started to try to apply that with what I was doing. I, of course, started with prayer, step 1, then meetings, Bible reading, service, and then, of course, studying meditation, and that really helped me.
Really? Studying and meditation and going out in service and going to meetings was what solved all of your problems? I would have never in a million years guessed.
So all those steps, before you know it, I had climbed that mountain, so to speak, and I rebuilt my spirituality. So much so that after 2 years of coming back, I was a ministerial servant and then appointed as an elder in 2010.
Whoa!
We had the privilege of regular pioneering together.
Pioneer School 2016. Oh, August 15th to 20th. Not a cult also takes place in 2016.
As a family. Now, what I've learned as far as helping ones who are inactive, one is you have to show love and kindness. That's key.
You have to. Love is mandatory.
Remember.
Love, damn you.
You have to be their friend.
You have to. Mandatory friendship. You must, at the risk of being disciplined by God himself. You better make it a really fucking authentic friendship, too.
You can't talk about their situation every time you see them. And then 3, always remember and view that person as someone who loves Jehovah. Now, they may have
Always.
buried it way deep down inside, and they may not even know how to access it, but a loving, caring elder will be able to help them access that again.
That's not fair because, like, no, I don't have a love for Jehovah deep down inside somewhere. I was talking with another ex-Jehovah's Witness who kind of thought they were a theist and had been trying to be more like Christian, which was kind of me when I left too. And we were talking a little bit about that, and what we commiserated on was just this weird thing where you're told your whole life that you have a spiritual need, that there is a part of you that really wants God and needs God, needs whatever religion, right? And that you really do believe it. But what we both realize is, like, I don't even think about it. Like, it's not like I constantly have this tug towards organizations. Like, I don't even really think about the nature of God or all that much. And so it's a toxic thing to instill in people because it makes elders, first of all, just feel like failures, because there are some people that they're not going to be able to convince. They're just volunteers in a high control group where they're indoctrinated into talking like robots. So you're going to have a limited amount of effectiveness there. And also, I just think it's a genuinely toxic idea to tell people, like, no, they really are on your side already deep down, and you just need to keep on needling them until they accept. I mean, you see this all the time in Christianity. It's not unique to Jehovah's Witnesses, but it is very frustrating. I don't like it. Oh, wait, I need to actually close out Jehovah God, famous friend of all. He does not have all that many requirements to be his friend. It's very simple. Really down-to-earth guy. Not literally, but, the opposite.
Well, it definitely didn't happen overnight, Tina.
Did we? We saw this shit. Oh. I think there might be pause. I think this is like a little recap to do a pause and review, because this is like a little... We've seen all this stuff. Oh, good. So this is a skipper. That was the next video in the queue, but it appears to be a review. Because you keep all that in your head, everyone. I'm not doing a test as part of this stream today, but just remember the very complicated stuff you learned, such as never leave the organization for any reason. If you do and come back and you still don't like it, that's fine, but just you gotta still come anyway. And you just got to study and read the Bible and go to meetings and stuff. Really powerful spiritual food that you couldn't get anywhere else. Ooh, Service Committee Report. A loving provision for times of distress. I'm excited for this because I like their news broadcasts. Their committee reports.
Have you or a loved one faced a medical emergency or prepared
No.
for a serious medical procedure?
No. This is the one thing I really hate.
If so,
well, I hate all of it, but this is...
You know how stressful this can be. Psalm 41:3 promised...
Yeah, by the way, it's stressful for everyone. This is a weird thing, like Jehovah's Witnesses, we'll talk about the fact they don't fear death and they have a hope that nobody else has, and it gives them such peace of mind, it's the best life ever, but no, because most people, when they go to the doctor, they don't have to worry about having to die from getting a basic gallbladder surgery or hysterectomy or something if there's some kind of emergency, because they don't have to worry about being a martyr for their faith if they need a blood transfusion. That sounds like the beginning of a personal injury attorney commercial. Has this ever happened to you?
Jehovah will sustain us on our sickbed. How does he do this?
Yeah, I'll fucking bet.
Not through miraculous cures, but by lovingly providing physical, emotional...
Let's stop there. Why? Why not, if he can?
Emotional and spiritual support. One means...
Oh, Jehovah, he wants to heal you, and he's going to get everything back to normal. He's going to make you never be sick again, but you can't do it today. He can't do it today. That's not his schedule. He's got a timetable for when he's going to stop all these kids from dying of cancer and stop senseless crimes all over the world and all the dead babies every day. He is going to fix that. We don't really know when, necessarily, might be many, many years in the future, might be decades in the future. And so you might actually die before it happens. But he loves you a lot, and he really cares.
Court is the hospital liaison committee arrangement.
The worst,
Today,
creepiest thing in the world.
16,000 brothers serve on or coordinate some 2,000 liaison committees around the world.
That's actually good data to have. I didn't know that number before. That's a lot.
Our role is to help doctors and Jehovah's Witnesses to come to a consensus on how to treat the patient without breaking God's law. Most people get into the medical profession.
What's that? What is that? Here's something that I have, wait for it, noticed in pulling some clips of their blood stuff for another video I've been working on. They really, really go out of their way to not say blood transfusion. We know that that's what they mean, and they know that that's what they mean, and all the witnesses watching it knows that's what they mean. But what they say is Jehovah's arrangement, or Jehovah's standards, or the Bible's requirements regarding blood. Like, how did he word this here?
Our role is to help doctors and Jehovah's Witnesses to come to a consensus on how to treat the patient without breaking God's law. Most people
breaking
get into
God's
the medical
law.
profession because they want to help.
Breaking God's law, by the way. So does that sound like it's up to the conscience of each individual Jehovah's Witness? Or does it sound like they're explicitly saying that if you take a blood transfusion, you are breaking God's law?
So generally speaking, doctors are respectful of our stand. They know now with the advancements in medicine that Jehovah's Witnesses don't have a death wish. We're not anti-medicine.
Yeah, but you also in no way ever contribute to the furthering of research into bloodless surgery. So you are just these leeches who demand all of the advancements, scientific, medical, and otherwise, that Satan's world has developed. They will gladly take advantage of it all and demand it be used, and also teach that these doctors, you know, if they don't become Jehovah's Witnesses, are they going to be saved? Yeah, maybe.
We're not religious fanatics or anything with any kind of weird requests.
Oh.
We want the same treatment everyone else gets with this one caveat.
We're not unfeeling robots.
Decline blood transfusions.
I'm not stupid. I'm actually a very stable genius. I'm actually a stable genius. I'm not racist. A lot of people actually say that I'm the least racist person. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm actually the least anti-Semitic person. We're not religious fanatics. We're actually, like, not fanatics at all. And this guy appears... Now, I was just kind of facetiously referencing some annoying right-wing talking points. To their credit, this guy does look like someone who lives and feasts on adrenochrome only, and only can survive on the blood of dead children. This is a terrifying monster of a man, and I'll go on record and say that right now.
With 2 other brothers. And when we went in, we had 25 doctors waiting for us.
Captain of the Blood Police.
And more doctors were listening through a conference call.
Thank you, Dr.
When we stepped
Shem.
into the auditorium,
It's a
one
good
of
question.
the doctors said to us, "Now you have entered a lion's den." Well, that was not an easy start. We were able to present our hospital presentation, answer their questions, and provide some medical articles.
Ooh, I'll tell you, from my standpoint, I definitely wanted to be on the HLC because I was a believer and really felt like the HLC was helping patients. And I worked in patient care already as a medical assistant, and I really liked being able to visit people in the hospital. And so when I was really serious about wanting to be an elder, I really wanted to be on the HLC. I didn't really understand what it was, though. And I accepted the framework that they're positing, which is that this is God's arrangement. And so they're just doing their best to intercede on behalf of the patient and make sure that the doctors are giving them the best care possible. You know, it really isn't that at all. It's 2 fake lawyers from a fake charity with no medical training whatsoever browbeating doctors into giving shittier care.
Most of the brothers serving on hospital
To, if I may
liaison committees are
editorialize.
medical experts. So how can they be knowledgeable and confident regarding medical matters?
Totally
They
does.
stay up to date on the latest alternative treatments and strategies. This is the role of hospital information
being
services.
ornery.
They coordinate the work of hospital information departments in each branch.
Hospital Information Services Department at World Headquarters.
He was just like crawling behind the computer, really trying to knock the ring light off the thing. Xenon of the 21st century? Xenon Bodnaruk. First name sounds like Xenon from the Disney show. Bodnaruk sounds like he's a Goron from The Legend of Zelda. But he's none of those things. He's a very normal Hospital Information Services World Headquarters worker who helps people die of blood transfusions when they really want to.
Works the hospital information departments at the branches, who in turn provide training, support, encouragement to the hospital.
Michael understands what's up.
The elders serving around the world who are in direct contact with brothers and sisters who need the care.
The goal is to help the brothers understand how they can interface with the doctors. Of course, there could be a fear talking to people.
This is also, okay, I'm going to kind of skip past some things because we talked about this on stream recently. I'm releasing like highlight video of that soon. We'll talk about all the issues with my organizing my free time on the town hall. But the issue with all of this, I've said it before, but this kind of approach makes sense for an extended care stay for maybe a surgery that has been planned in advance, or they are in the hospital for many weeks. This does not make a lot of sense in a trauma situation where your Jehovah's Witness fellow congregant is bleeding out in the ICU or on the operating table, or they're in critical condition and they don't have time to go through all of the rigmarole and bureaucracy that Jehovah's Witnesses are just kind of like bursting through the door like the Kool-Aid man and telling everybody like, hey guys, we got some rules you got to follow. We're going to kind of make this a little bit more annoying for you doctors to deal with, and make sure that our members are following the rules, because that's really what they're doing, is they're there to make sure that the patient isn't giving in, isn't going to be too eager to save their life, that they forget about the eternal life that Jehovah has set out for them, and to make sure the doctors are not getting to the patient and trying to convince them to use blood. They're really there as like a buffer zone, as like bouncers for the Jehovah's Witness hospital room. It's really weird. It just doesn't actually make any sense. LC Cotton Jr. is a really interesting name. I think LC stands for loser
in the medical
cuck.
profession.
No offense.
Patients make.
But all these guys are
To
absolute
procedures
losers.
that now didn't require a blood transfusion.
So one thing that would be worth doing, I know I've said this before, but reaching out to these people who show up in their videos like this to see if they agree with it. I don't have any doubt that there are doctors who take great pride in the fact that they can work with Jehovah's Witness patients. Like I've no doubt that that's the case. And I absolutely agree that if we're going to live in a free and fair society with freedom of religion, and they're going to be immovable on this, then yes, we need some kind of doctors who are willing to develop workarounds so that somebody's religious faith is not compromised. But I also think that we just simply have to live in a world where religions cannot impose this sort of hindrance on their members. Like we have to have some kind of society where if a doctor can save your life and your reasoning is no, an old book said it means that God won't love me anymore. Thank you, darling. Oh my goodness. I just got a lovely enchilada. Oh my. No, it looks good to me. Yeah, I don't know. Why adrenochrome when ketamine is available? I mean, Elon knows what's up with that.
I have not found that
Ketamine
there
king.
any difference in the outcome of witness
There's actually a rather
patients.
large difference in the outcome
There
with
is absolutely no
ketamine.
reason to be afraid of surgery in a witness patient.
We embrace the idea that we should treat respectfully the wishes of the Jehovah's Witness patients.
Yeah.
Serious medical situations.
Oh, God,
are
there's more.
stressful, and decisions often need.
Oh, maybe they're mentioning the trauma thing that I said. This almost seems identical to the thing that we just watched on stream recently, right? Who are you going to listen to, your doctor or L.C. Cotton Jr., a person who probably has, at most, knowing Jehovah's Witness rules, a high school education. Same here, but I also,
A hospital liaison.
I want to be clear. I'm not saying, because witnesses will be like, oh, what, so you're like smarter and know better? I'm like, no, I'm saying that you should let doctors make decisions about your health care. Like, if you're bleeding out, listen to what the fucking blood doctor says, not what the guy who really insists that he's best friends with an invisible guy the invisible guy says about blood transfusions. I lost track of the grammar there.
Committee arrangement provides comfort and help at the right time.
For the past year, I've been going through an extremely difficult trial. There were some false starts and misdiagnosis, but we finally got diagnosed about a year ago that I had esophageal cancer. I know that Jehovah, in this present evil, wicked system of things, won't snap his finger and say,
yeah,
cancer be gone. I know that.
I don't know. Sounds like a name L. Ron Hubbard made up. It does. It sounds like a shitty alter ego. Looking around like, I don't know. If James Bond's code name was like James Bong or something. Yeah, this is great. JW Facts has a great article on this. Truth Alliance says, JWs ignore that Jesus was explicit, that it was preferable to break a law than to let someone die. They love themselves a martyr. And yes, like, this really is true. Like, there's a verse in the Bible where the Pharisees come up to Jesus and ask him, would it be okay to break the Sabbath if it was to save somebody's life? And basically what Jesus says in that account, which I don't remember off the top of my head right now, it really does contradict what witnesses say. But they really are not a Christian religion in the sense that they base their teachings off of Jesus. They are like, they're more similar to Christian nationalists in that they are a group that is much more about we are chosen and special and we have a unique interpretation of prophecy that applies to us. And a lot of that is going to be based on kind of weird Old Testament shenanigans and insisting that when the Bible said this, it really meant this. Like, the idea that you can just go to a simple thing that Jesus said and counter it is really far beyond a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't think I can deal with watching this guy who had esophageal cancer. I can't. It bums me out simply too much. And I know this isn't really helpful for anybody here, but Christina just made some really amazing enchiladas, and if you ever get the chance, you should have some of them. You won't, but
We've
if
been
you
married over 43 years.
And thanks to
do,
Jehovah.
hey, you know, maybe Albert and Penny are a little bit like me and Christina. I'm making it smaller just so I can see what credit they give them underneath their
Majority
names.
of that has been in full-time service.
Oh, none. They didn't get anything. What would it say? Elder and wife?
We served as missionaries as well as Bethel family members.
Guys. Not important, but also important. Basically, the philosophy for this channel. Okay, so in the Kingdom Hall video that I made about like volunteer labor and the fact that they're standardizing all these Kingdom Halls and then flipping them and selling them to like franchises and banks and stuff, I talked about the fact that there used to be a lot of autonomy in how Jehovah's Witnesses could build the Kingdom Halls because it was all just the congregation's donated funds, and then they would actually pool those funds that the congregation owned and use it to do whatever. And now they don't do that at all because the branch controls everything, and everything has to be built a certain way. But what you used to have is exactly what I see here. This is different than what I talk about, but I mentioned in that video one of the Kingdom Halls that I went to a lot as a kid, like my cousins went there. So whenever we would stay the night over there, which was frequently, we would go to their Kingdom Hall, and it had this elaborate paradise painting in the back. And this is what I'm talking about, baby. This is the kind of thing. Like, they don't have this kind of stuff in Kingdom Halls anymore because it's very kitsch and tacky. But I think it's
family members and the foreign field.
Currently, we serve in the substitute circuit work.
Now we have a nice privilege to serve as Bethel remote volunteers. Penny has been very supportive when we have adjustments and assignments and being very adaptable. Sometimes we would get a call that Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon even. She would quickly adjust her schedule, make sure that we had our clothes packed for a week. And she'd even give us snacks on the way so that we had something to eat on the route.
But, did she make him enchiladas? I don't know. I bet not. Yeah. How amazing. They would completely upend their lives at a moment's notice if the organization told them to do something. No questions asked. We are essentially slaves who will do literally whatever you ask us to do for free.
She can tell when I'm anxious. She can just look at me and just read me without me saying anything. She knows me, and as a result, she'll look for opportunities to strengthen me. Dealing with HLC, you're dealing with the needs of our brothers and sisters, and it does affect us as HLC members. It affects us personally, emotionally, but Penny was always there.
She was perfect. Step 40 in, really.
It gives me the added reminders is keep praying to Jehovah.
Look at her face.
And with that reminder, now I can more effectively handle that assignment.
Wow,
we pray together before we go to bed. When we wake up and we go out the door, even before we leave, we pray.
Well, I think that's nice, but your prayers are falling on knowing. Knowing? Couldn't decide between nothing and no one. And so I said something that really didn't make any sense.
Friends in our congregation may know. Like if we have been on a sub-assignment, our first day back when we're in service, it's our day. Yeah, we do everything together.
Now, who in this relationship is more often on sub-assignment?
Even shop.
I don't know.
At the stores, people know us. If he's not with me, they say, "Where's your husband?" And then dishwashing, he does the dishes no matter how busy he is. When we cook, he comes in and he's my sous chef. And then now he'll even iron his own shirts.
I've gotten better. One of the examples we always look at in the Bible is Aquila and Priscilla, how they always work together. And that...
Okay, so what's a little sad about this, because I think this is nice advice. Jehovah's Witnesses weaponize common sense advice all the time. That's a common tactic of cults. And yeah, this is all good. Like, be equal partners, take turns doing chores, make it a little tradition together. All that stuff's good. But I do think the reason why they're doing this is because they are having to correct the ingrained patriarchal domineering thing that a lot of guys in the group take advantage of in expecting their wife to do all of that stuff. So I think that they're saying this and presenting this, it's still a little sexist and demeaning towards the wife. Not a little, it just is. But this is like a slight improvement on the margins, I guess.
An example that we wanted to imitate from the moment we got married. And with Jehovah's help, we've been able to do our best to just stay united as a team. And so for us, whatever the assignment is, we gain joy in doing it together.
Hey, what if the assignment was killing someone for the group? Would you do that? You know, like if the governing body member sat you down, all of them maybe, and there's a lot of pressure. No, I'm literally just asking this question. I don't know. I think these are questions you got to ask yourself. Because, of course, a witness can say, of course not, duh. But then they're going to say, well, it's just that they would never ask me to do it. I would do anything they asked me to do, but they would never ask me to do that. So, of course, I don't even have to think about that.
Sharing in our spiritual activities has truly strengthened our marriage because it's really drawn us together. serving Jehovah.
Yeah.
Now we see that threefold cord that Ecclesiastes talks about. I can't even imagine our whole way of life without Penny.
Yeah, your wife. You can't imagine your life without your wife. But that's not the way he put it. He's like, I can't imagine this way of life without Penny, supporting the weirdly specific volunteer circuit work that we do. Man. All right, there's one more. There's one more, and then I have to pee so bad, but I think it's important that we push through. Because we have to get to Sammy. I didn't mean to spoil that, but we are about to see our dear friend. Yeah, after these messages. Okay,
We've quickly reached the conclusion of our Kingdom Ministry School.
So, a couple things here. A couple things with this. I have not seen Sam Hurd with a beard. I don't think it's good. I don't like it. I think this is a man who just needs to keep with the vibe he's had his whole life. I mean, I respect him for taking the chance and growing a beard, but I don't know if it works. Sound off in chat. Jehovah's Witnesses love to say, and say in court, lyingly, that they don't have ranks and positions in the organization. But these videos are important because, like, no, they gave... Each person is like, this is Jimmy... Wait, no, what were some of their crazy names? This is Xenon from the 21st century Smith, and he's just a regular old elder. This guy, his role, governing body. He's more important than you.
Ministry School. We know you've benefited from the fine reminders. These reminders will put you to sleep at night and wake you up in the morning. It's been...
No, I don't think that you should have Samuel Hurd utter the words, these reminders will put you to sleep. I just don't think you should do it, because I just busted out laughing immediately. Samuel Hurd has to be just the sleepiest in terms of his aura, and the sleepiest in terms of he will make you feel very sleepy. Because, first of all, he talks so slow. And he's also always talking about things like his
Mommy, when I...
Yeah. But, anyway.
And good to be together with the circuit overseers, elders, and ministerial servants during the day, and you wives for the last two parts.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so the last two parts. So the wives were invited in to see the part of the program where the guy compliments his wife and how great she is and stuff. And apparently the wives are also allowed to see this. So that's kind of intriguing. I don't know why they would do this. Are they doing it to be like, guys, this isn't just some boys club where your husband goes to hang out with his dude friends all day. Look, you can just see how boring it is.
Appointed men, we were reminded how love moves us to take the lead in the field ministry.
Love moves us to take the lead in the field ministry. And, of course, we have to love our mother. Our mommy. We love mommy more than anybody else in the entire family unit.
Those who want to return to Jehovah, and to identify and train others who have potential. As you recall, in the opening talk, we discussed the example of King David. Although he faced many challenges and distressing circumstances in his life, he trusted fully in Jehovah and instilled that trust in others. Having his example in mind, let's read again the theme scripture for our school.
Let's definitely not do that. Well, okay. Maybe I should do my due diligence and read a scripture. My yearly scripture that I allow myself to read ever since I swore off the Bible. Psalm 78:72. He shepherded them with integrity of heart, and with skillful hands he led them. Now, what Jehovah's Witnesses have done is they're like, Jehovah put this little psalm in a book written thousands of years ago. And even though, yes, absolutely, it was written in that time for that time because it had a very specific meaning and was talking about something that doesn't exist anymore. But what it also means is that Jehovah made you shepherds, and because you're shepherds, you have to also shepherd with integrity of heart and with skillful hands. And what that means is that you just have to kind of listen to the training videos that we show you.
22. He shepherded them with integrity of heart and with...
Right, is it David or is it God?
Elders bear the responsibility for shepherding the congregation, which includes finding, feeding, leading, and protecting Jehovah's sheep. There's no doubt that shepherding requires hard work and skill, but love for the flock moves us to want to do so.
Yeah, one of the most loving guys, Samuel Hurd. All right. One thing that I find kind of fascinating about the videos, knowing what we read about the talk from that Reddit post, from the larger KMS program, is that apparently in the actual talks that the local brothers IRL are giving on the stage, they're talking a lot about things like alcoholism and apostasy, and none of that's in the videos. So that must be something that's more like they're putting that in the outlines because it's a more modern problem of theirs, because these videos, and it takes a while for them to come out. So that's, unless he brings it up in this talk, we have not heard anything about that in the official videos, but that makes a lot of sense too, because this stuff leaks. It's genuinely a lot more difficult to be an elder and like film your kingdom ministry, your local kingdom ministry school, because you would just get caught. They would know the handful of elders who were there and be able to track you down. And that's because there's only a few people who are invited to begin with. So I wish that we were able to hear this full thing. And if anybody has it, or like has a audio recording on their phone or something, like a PMO elder, and don't want me to show it on the channel but are comfortable with me hearing it, I would just, for my own edification, be interested in hearing from it. And I could write up some kind of summary as to what the talks are about.
Like David, you elders can be successful if you rely not on your own natural ability or experience, but on Jehovah. We expect that more difficult times are on the horizon, and Jehovah's dear sheep will need support.
Dear sheep? What kind of unholy creature is that?
Guidance to face the future successfully. However, you can be confident that Jehovah will bless your efforts.
Oh.
While the elders take the lead in shepherding.
This guy who's been wrong about everything his whole life said that we can be confident in this thing.
You ministerial servants render a variety of practical services.
Oh, how lovely, how nice.
And sisters. Your doing so allows the overseers to spend more time caring for shepherding and teaching the congregation. We commend all of you ministerial servants for reaching out, for humbly accepting training, for supporting the elders in assisting those in need.
Oh, brother.
And for helping baptized brothers to reach
clean the toilet.
Goal. We encourage you to apply the principles discussed at this school. As you continue to grow in love for Jehovah and for your brothers, and to develop other godly qualities, you will strengthen others. In time, as you loyally fulfill your
talk about apostates. You're being boring.
At Proverbs 31:30.
Whoa. Wait, he was talking about women.
Spiritual women. As stated
now,
in Proverbs.
Sam Hurd, a chatter pointed out, gave a talk that there is a recording of on JW Facts where he talks about women having smaller brain sizes than men. Samuel Hurd is one of the more calloused and mean and nasty governing body members
31:30.
And misogynist.
The
I don't know
woman
if I said
who
that.
fears Jehovah will be praised.
Wow.
Yes,
Oh, great.
among your many other godly qualities, your fear of Jehovah makes you truly beautiful.
Live your life in fear. What a beautiful Christian thought. Be constantly afraid of disappointing your invisible husband in the sky.
And we love you for it. There are many examples in the Bible of women who...
Yeah, that's weird. Why wasn't Sam Hurd or David Splain cleaning the toilet?
Was obedient and supportive of her husband.
An interesting thing always happens when they start listing all the amazing women in the Bible is that they very quickly run out and have to be like, the Israelite slave girl, the unnamed woman who did blah, blah, blah. It's like, but they have to spin it as like they're so humble that we don't even know their names.
Ruth was an industrious worker.
Industrious, that's how you describe Ruth.
Customs that were unfamiliar to her.
Yeah, like being
Priscilla
gay.
was diligent in the ministry. Likewise, your loyalty, your faithfulness, and your zeal for the ministry are a blessing to your husband and to the congregation. Those around you are uplifted by your qualities of sympathy and understanding.
Ooh, hang on a second. I had a... Oh, I don't know if I can do it. This sounds... What he's doing really sounds like, if you've seen Severance, the wellness sessions that they have. They're very similar to weird little JW shepherding calls where it's supposed to be like encouraging. And so the worker sits down across from this essentially equivalent of an HR person and starts saying like, Severance being your work self and your outside self are separate. So the innie is the work self and they don't know who their outside self is. And so the person's like, your innie is, or your outie is amazing at roller skating. Your outie uplifts everyone with their example. And this is, I wanted to pull up the music that plays under those scenes and play it under this.
To your husband and to the congregation.
Your outie is a blessing
Those around
to your
you
husband.
are uplifted by your qualities of sympathy.
Those around your outie are uplifted by their sympathy
And understanding.
and understanding.
You also show personal interest in others and promote peace. Jehovah knows that supporting your husband often calls for sacrifices on your part. At times, you're caring for family needs while your husband is caring for congregation matters.
He's doing important man stuff, and you need to do important lady stuff.
Such as making shepherding visits. You willingly make these sacrifices so that your husband can care for God's sheep.
That's perfect.
Please know that Jehovah appreciates all your hard work.
Kira appreciates it. Now, we have to say hi to our best friend on Animal Kingdom, Peaches the dog. We're allowed to say that because Bo's not here anymore. But in the dog kingdom, we love Peach. We love Peach so much as a treat for enduring one of the more disturbing displays we've seen. Not really.
I'm dropping everything.
Oh my god.
Hello.
We took this girl on a very long walk yesterday. She was so good. She has to get used. She gets very, very scared of other dogs when we take her for walks. Like if she sees another dog,
for that matter.
yeah, or humans, she'll just stop dead in her tracks and totally freak out. Christina had to run off because Bo is knocking things over. So you're only ever seeing Bo at his best behavior on stream. Yeah. But she was great. She was able to work up her tolerance level, and by the end, she was walking next to doggies and not being too scared or stopping dead in her tracks she normally does.
She really did have an issue with stopping.
Yeah, she would just like get scared and freeze and stop when she saw a person or a dog, which is weird because like she didn't do that other times, but just in the context of on a walk on her leash, it's very weird. So. She got a little better. Thanks for treating us to a peach break.
Anytime.
And one of the things we love about the peach break is we get to play the worst sound drop of all time.
Our spiritual paradise is a place that has many harmless animals.
Now, what do we mean by this?
I don't know if I've ever clarified this, but that is why we named her that. That movie had just come out, and we, you know, she did, when she was really tiny, look like just a little peach ball. She just looked like a peach. And so the Peaches, Peaches, Peaches song was perfect. Okay, well, that was crazy. What did we learn today, class? Well, we learned that the elders are treated to more nuance about, like, it's not quite as simple and beautiful being a Jehovah's Witness all the time. What I was taking from that, because a lot of it is weird that it's exclusive to elders. Most of that seems like stuff that probably could be on jw.org. And so I was trying to figure out, like, well, why isn't this on jw.org? I think a big part of it is, think about the stuff that they make for the public, or not the public, but their lower level members. They're lower level patrons of the Jehovah's Witness Church. You're just a publisher, pioneer, whatever. You're constantly seeing videos about, I was out of the organization for years, maybe decades, and it was miserable, and finally I came back and it was immediately amazing. Like, we've watched a million of those videos on these streams. And what's different is, in the elders meeting, they're like, okay, so what really happens when people come back is it's actually usually kind of hard for them, and they feel either out of the routine, or they feel weirded out by the love bombing, or they have a lot of internalized shame because we are constantly making them feel ashamed for not being spiritual enough. And that's what it seems like to me, is that you're let in on a little bit more nuance. But the thing that I'm really, really curious about are the talks that they didn't record. I did see that Mitch, Ron Pomo, in chat earlier mentioned the fact that they're doing these elders meetings, but they have not updated the Shepherd book in at least a year. They have not updated the elders manual, which is entitled Shepherd the Flock of God, since all of these changes to disfellowshipping, where they're now calling it removal and so on and so forth. And so I guess the question is, like, or at least my question is, are they going to do an update to the elders book? Is it maybe just smarter for them to not have this kind of stuff in writing at all? And by having the more culty stuff like apostasy, and maybe something that's maybe a little bit more embarrassing for the group, like acknowledging that they have an issue with alcoholism, they don't want to film that and widely distribute it, because then it's like, if it leaks, it's really embarrassing. It'll show up in some future documentary, or it could go viral on TikTok, and their members could see it and think it's creepy and cringe. Whereas the kind of the worst case scenario that happens with the way they're doing it now is, like, maybe the talk outline leaks, which is kind of hard to present to normies, even though it probably has all the information there, or a PMO records it and leaks it. But if they do that, it's a lot easier to find them because of the nature of these meetings. So that's kind of what I am taking from this on a macro level. It is a little bit more inside baseball than normal rank and file stuff. But when I think about the elders meeting that I went to, or not the elders meeting, but the KMS school that I went to, KM school, that was like saying ATM machine, what I just did. Well, famously, the elders, they showed that video that has since, I know I've showed it in some videos here before, maybe it was a stream we reacted to it on, but there's a reenactment of elders shepherding a woman in the congregation, but it's not really shepherding. It's like, and she talks about, I'm going to kill myself, and the elder totally bungles it, and you see, like, this is how a judicial committee is supposed to work. Like, the judicial committee videos that we covered last year, that's the kind of stuff that they used to film and widely distribute. And now I kind of wonder if they're going to make less of that kind of stuff, not because they can't afford it, because clearly they have nothing but movie studios now, but because when it leaks, it's extra bad for them. So that's what I'm kind of interested in. Now, coming up at 4:15-ish p.m., so in about an hour from now, I'm going to go live with my members and patrons. It'll probably be live for everyone, but I'm just going to prioritize members and patrons' comments, and after it is over, the stream will be locked behind the paywall. So if you want to join, you'll be able to watch, but if you miss it, whatever. But I think we're going to kind of talk about the future of the channel, what kind of content's going to be on it, Patreon exclusive stuff, like what people want to see as far as hangouts and voting on some things. And then I want to try and, I don't know if we want to play some Jackbox games or some shit. We'll figure it out. We'll figure something out. Good times. We talked about the culty videos. And I'll see y'all a little bit later.